How's it going, internets? I hope you're having a lovely day. It's that time again. It's time to get into some animation, time to get that imagination cranked up to 11, get into some creativity, and it's time to get inspired. And today's inspiration comes from a lovely, wonderful, amazing, super imaginative creator, and that is John Bauer. And if you're not familiar with his work, check right over here. Look at how gorgeous this is. I love the color choices. Like, you've probably seen in my stuff, I don't tend to like too much brights. I like a lot of darks and earthy tones and everything like that, and I feel like he really brings that out. Such wonderful characters. I love the way that he has these big noses on everything. I feel like it's so cool. And then all of almost all of his female characters are very have a really almost it's almost like a Japanese anime feel to his female characters. But he's from a long time ago. In I want to say early 1900s. I could be wrong. But just a wonderful style. I love his color choices. I love his imagination. Look at this. I mean, is it floating on out of this tapestry or this skirt that's just causing him to float and appear? And the hair, the way that he renders hair, is wonderful stuff. I love these hand poses. Really creative, super imaginative. And I love the way that he has a lot of detail in there, but kind of simplistic layouts. I mean, if you look at this, it's really just two characters kind of on almost like a flat plane where they both be in that side. There's not a ton of forced perspective or anything in there, but it's really just captures a scene so well. You can tell that it's really that storytelling moment. Something that happened right before this and something that's going to happen right after that, and I love that. Again, here you do have a sense of depth and everything, but you really feels like it just gets to the heart of whatever that storytelling beat is that he's trying to capture, and I really love that. Again, all his imagery just feels so fantastical or whimsical, or like just steeped in ancient fairy tales and everything. That's just gorgeous stuff. I really like how he does trees too. I feel like this kind of droop. It's a really interesting style of tree. He has that on one of the other ones we just looked at. Again, just gorgeous stuff. Love all these little creatures. So let's take a look at a quote I was able to find from him. It's at least attributed to him. Sometimes it's a little bit harder with people who there's not a ton of information out there on. But he said, "I notice more and more that it is from the oldest and most primitive artists that one must learn to become an artist oneself." And I would agree with this, but I would also say that, find those people that really inspire you and whose work that you truly love and learn from them. I mean, I personally feel like, schools are great and teachers are great and learning subjects is great, but if you find someone's work who you don't necessarily want to copy, but you kind of want to learn from them, even if it's not somebody that you can actually go out and teach. Like if you're a musician, you're probably going to want to memorize your favorite album and figure out how it works and break it down and then rebuild it in a different way and learn that way. I feel like for me, that's where I get a lot of growth. That's personal growth that you're not going to get from a school or anything like that, where those extra assignments that you give yourself, I guess, is really where you're going to feel and develop your own voice and your own style and all that kind of stuff too. So let's go ahead and get into some animation. I love his work. I really urge you guys to check out his stuff. I'll throw a link in the description below, but this is the Darkseer rig. It's part of the Dota 2 collection of rigs from over at the Steam community. Again, as always, I'll throw a link in the description below, and if you're not familiar, the quick little elevator pitch of what we'll be doing for the rest of the video. I go off and I find a rig that I've never used before. It's a free resource for you guys to play around with. Give ourselves around 48 frames, give or take a few, sometimes a little bit longer. Try to keep it within about an hour, sometimes a little over, sometimes a little under. And we kind of go from there. Just hang out with me while I animate, a little bit of over the shoulder, a little bit of guidance, or talking through the process, or talking about something to do with the creative and imaginative world in general. And the main goal of doing these videos each and every day is to hopefully encourage you and inspire you, whatever medium you love. Whether it's drawing or animating or painting or playing the flute or playing the oboe or whatever you're passionate about, that you just go and you make and you create and you do and you use your imagination and you stretch those creative muscles each and every day and take another step in your journey towards mastering whatever medium it is you're passionate about. So let's go ahead and play around here. So I was thinking for this one, kind of felt almost a little bit like Phantom of the Opera-y for him. So kind of a creep, but not really, and then kind of, or a sneak kind of a walk, but more like if he had an imaginary cape in front of him. So I kind of want to do something like that. So we'll see if we can make that pose work. Although I really like aesthetically this collection of Dota rigs, I feel like the way that they're rigged makes the animation sometimes a little bit difficult to get some nice posing options. But then again, I could always change the way that I personally work as well. But I feel like there's a little to be desired just in the rigging themselves. It's not necessarily built super strong for animators, at least compared to some of the other rigs that I've used. But for being a free resource, I really appreciate that they throw this stuff out there for people to play around with and learn on and grow with. Grow from. Let's push that elbow back here. Let's grab the chest here. Neck. Take that forward. His hand. Push this one over and back. Rotate it out a little bit. Just kind of that caped kind of a feel. I think the old Batman TV show used to have times when Batman would do that kind of a thing where he'd throw his hand in his cape up here, or kind of that Dracula kind of a pose. Any character with a big cape, that kind of feel is kind of what I was thinking for this one. That might be fun to play around with. And then we should probably puff out the chest, I think, a little bit more. And rotate that, offset it a little bit. I don't want it necessarily in the face, but near it's fine. Make that so it's not so extreme here. Let's tilt the head a little bit more so it's not so angled. Just universally put it in the spot we want. And the knee controller. It's probably hidden somewhere in here, I'm guessing. There we go. Bring that forward. What are we missing here? Okay, let's take a couple steps back. Why did that knee bust like that? Okay, we'll leave it that way, I guess. I guess because it's kind of more of a animalistic leg, it has the knee controller back instead of in front. I don't think it would typically go that way, but that's okay. I think the splay might be a little bit too, the gate might be a little too wide, so let's see if that works. Yeah, let's rotate that foot out a little bit there. Alright, we have a fairly good storytelling pose to start with. Maybe we'll tweak the finger poses a little bit more. I like that they kind of give us a little bit more of a default finger that feels a little bit looser. It's kind of nice. And we'll scrunch that one in a little bit more here. So I think that'll start us off, okay? So let's go ahead and save our file. We are using Autodesk Maya 2014 for today's video. For more information on that and all the stuff we've talked about so far, check out the links in the description down below. And let's get started. I think I'm going to stick with a base 12 system, fairly neutral timing for our walk. Let's make sure we have only our NURB curves, NURB surfaces, and our polygons selected so we don't key anything that we don't need to key. And let's get started. So let's grab everything and we'll set that. And then let's start with feet. So we'll go there. And we'll flip between those two. Let's see. Maybe we'll go back to 14. This is going to be too quick. We'll see. And I'll bring that back, flip that over, flip between those two. Let's see if those are two quickest steps. Yeah, I think I'm going to go 14s on this. That's okay. So I'll grab everything. We'll go our window, animation editors, graph editor. I really like to come up with a good timing idea before I get too much into posing or anything really. So usually I do the feet first, do a timing pass kind of on how those ones, see if that's a good idea for where we want to go, and then slow it down or increase it a couple of frames. Alright, so now we've got 14 frames in between each step, so that should slow it down a little bit more. Let's see if that feels a little better. Now this one, I think I'm just not going to go as far forward. Let's scale that back a little bit more. Yeah, let's see how that feels. Alright, and then let's look at the hips here. Actually, before I do too much, let's go ahead and go back. We're going to lock in all those keys just by hitting S on our keyboard, so we make sure we set all the attributes here. And we'll get our passing positions built in here. So I'll go ahead and lift that up. I'll plop it down, lift it up, and plop it down. Go to the other side. And lift it up here. Plop it down and lift it up here. And we're going to definitely have to figure out how we approach those because I think we're going to have some funky stuff with the knees. But let's not get too much into the minute details just yet. We're just trying to get the base stuff working here. So let's go ahead and go up on the passing position. Instead, let's go ahead and grab everything here. Since we have our hands in IK, usually I would love to leave these hands in FK, but we don't have that option on this rig, which is okay. I just feel like for walks or most more physical shots, more than a acting beat shot, usually FK is what I prefer to use, but that's okay. Let's look at our translate lines. Let's even those out a little bit more. Yeah, let's see. And let's look here. We'll even these guys out a little bit more too. So as you can tell, it's not as balanced now that we adjusted the hips. And then I think for this one, I'm gonna push it forward a few frames so the timing's a little bit different on this backhand than the front one, just to add some more variety. And that would go 7 frames from there, which would put us at 53. So we'll go ahead and punch in a key there and lift it up. And let's see how it feels. Okay, going down too far, too much down and not enough up. So I can adjust that. My nose is itchy today. Okay, and let's look at the elbow here too. Let's see if we can't go a little lower on the elbow. Okay, we need to go in more. No, I kind of like it out. So maybe just less down universally. Let's see. Maybe just less movement overall. Scale it back about 10%. Okay, and let's start looking at the hips a little more in depth here. So we're going to want to push them over that planted foot a little bit more, and over this one, and over that one, and over this one, and back again, and let's minimize that, and scale it back. Let's see that now. Alright, let's do a little better rotate. Just a little better rotate Y there. So we favor that front planted foot just a little bit. And then back again. And balance that out a little bit better. You probably don't need to go that much, so scale it back a little bit. Let's see how it feels. Remember, we'll offset it in the chest a little bit here too. And let's go ahead and rotate Z a little bit. So we lean into that step. Okay. And let's tone that down quite a bit. Let's see how we're doing now. Okay. And now let's look at the chest a little bit. So rotate Y a little bit that way, that way, and back. Alright. And we'll clean that up a little bit more. And we're going to rotate Z's. And again, we don't need a lot of that, but a little bit will help. I think I might need to go the other direction with the rotate Z because I feel like I'm leaning into it instead of offsetting what was on the hips. So let's see if that'll fix it. Let's see. Alright, that feels a little better. And let's balance it out a little bit more. And let's see. I probably need less of that still. right in here that it gets funky. So let's see. Just wanted to feel fairly balanced so there's no real extreme outliers there. Stuff feels like it should be less though. So let's just grab everything on both sides. Scale it back a little more. I'll have to go and do a little bit of translate X. There, just a teeny bit. Let's see. Right, let's do a little bit of that here too. And I think I need to invert it. I think I'm going the wrong way there. I'll definitely tone it down more. No, I was right. I'll go in then out. Okay. Alright, let's check that out. And tone it down a little bit more. Okay, and then we'll do a little bit of rotate down and up. And back again. Do I need to go the other way? I think I might. Let's see. I think I'm too slow though, because it needs to be every 7 frames, right? Punch in another one here. Let's see. Alright, it's getting closer. It should hit about here. eyes a little bit more. Throw them up. What I'm gonna do here. It just feels like it's too bouncy. Accents in a little bit more. Feels just so stiff. So let's try just really loosening it up. Let's just crank it up. Let's see. Get rid of the rotate on there. I don't like how I did it. Let's see. Just feels more natural without it. But it was better. I don't know if it's natural here. Maybe we'll swing it in a little bit here. Now a little bit there. In a little bit here. There, back. That doesn't look good. Maybe we could do a little bit of that. Switch it back to doing that where it would hit at 14. Going. Let's see. Okay, maybe we could do a little bit of forward and back here. Yeah, that's what we need. Let's see. Back. And we'll cut that by a lot, but I think that might start helping, doing a little bit of in and out there. Let's see. And then we'll do a little bit of twist and rotate Y here. Go the other way. And we'll get a little bit of it. Let's see. closer. Let's try that. Increase the up and down a little bit more. And let's push that elbow in a little bit more. Just so we don't get so much bounce on that elbow. Let's see. And let's tone the translate X down a little bit more. Translate Y up more. And let's look back at that rotate X, see if we can get a little bit of that working now. And then back to where we started. Okay, cut that down to maybe only 10%, maybe that'll feel looser. And let's look at the translate Y here. Maybe we can just universally pull that translate Y down a little bit there. Somewhere in the middle. And let's look at this elbow, see if we can still. Flick a little bit between there. And back. Alright. Starting to feel a little better. So let's go ahead and look at something else since we spent way too much time focusing on that. So look at this knee here. Is there any way we can do something different here? Because I like the height, but we just can't go as high there. Otherwise it deforms too much. So let's see. Let's see, how can we work around that? Maybe we'll make this the highest point here. One frame here, I don't want such heavy steps, but Let's look at the other side. I might be able to get away, kind of cheated a little bit, just because we're going to be shooting from this angle, so you're not going to feel that it's as deformed there. We can have a higher step there. Add a little bit of variety there too. But I think I still want them to feel like that. Yeah, I'm going to go back. I'll just leave the steps to feel a little bit different from side to side. I'm going to drag it back down there, lift it up, 2 frames and flatten it out. And drag it back down there, lift it up, and flatten it out. Alright, we'll go ahead and save our file. And let's look at the head here. Let's flick between those. Get a little more of a focused look. Yeah, that should work. Alright, now let's look at this guy here. Get some nice swing in there. And back again. Maybe we'll push it so that that actually goes, starts here. And invert it. Yeah, that's better. Now let's balance it out a little bit better. Now let's see. Okay, and then we can look at this one. We can break it back that way, this way, that way, this way, and back. Balance that out a little bit more. Okay, let's look at the tip. obviously too much, and I think I might go the other way around too. So let's see. We're going to break that up. This portion. And we'll just universally have it dangle downward more. And then tone it down to about 10% of what we have, because it's too floppy. Let's see how that feels. This part down. It's a little too active. Let's see. And look here. And let's push this down a little bit more. And cut it about in half. And we'll add a little bit of rotate Z or Y here. Way around 14 frames from that, 18. Go this way. 14 frames from that, 32. And then 46. And back again. Let's see. And I think I'll tone down the rotate Z here to about half. It's just getting a little too overactive. Let's see. Let's start one frame into this already. This last move feels a little too much. So why is that? Obviously we're mimicking here, so we're going to have a 2-frame hold that's going to throw that, but I feel like there's still some values that aren't as clean as they should be here. Let's take the rotate C and put it a little more middle of the road. just feels like it's too much. Let's take everything we have on this middle portion, and we'll cut it about 30%. Let's see. And same here. Just keep cutting. We'll leave the bottom part a little wiggly, but bases I think can be sheared down a bit more. Alright, so let's keep looking. That feels a little better. Alright, I'm going to save that. I still have the fingers, and I still want to approach this thing. This little tuft on the bottom of his clothes or whatever here. Here we'll do a little bit of rotate Z there. I think we need to universally take the rotate Z's and push them a little bit more. It's more like that. And then a little bit of down, up, down, up, down, up, down, back up. And I'll take this one and we'll move it so everything starts a few frames sooner. I think I might need another one here at 53. This will go over. Okay, and then we'll take everything that we have here and we'll just amp it up a little bit more. And maybe delay it a frame. Just that's a little bit different timing. Maybe more rotate X on here. Okay, now let's look at the fingers. Let's save our file. And I'll just do a little bit of sway there. too extreme. So let's scale it back. And then we'll take all of the tips here. Like I said, it's just a little bit of keep alive. Nothing super fancy. And we'll delay those a frame. Take everything on the pinky. We'll delay that a frame. Everything on the index. And we'll push it forward a frame. Now this one feels like it's pushed a little too far. Let's see. Maybe we'll do a little bit of forward and back or side to side here. And then cut that to almost a minimum. Just a teeny bit of that. Alright, let's look at the thumb. And a little bit back here. A little bit forward. A little bit back. And a little bit forward. Let's see. And we'll look here as well. With these two portions of the thumb. A little bit back. A little bit forward. A little bit back. Forward. And back again. And cut that to barely anything. And take the thumb tip and we'll delay the frame there too. And minimize all that. We could amp up this one a little bit more in the middle. A little bit less. And maybe a little bit more on the tip of the thumb there. Just a little bit more. This still feels like it's too much now. So we'll just scale it back about another 20%. And maybe another like 10% on the end here too. That feels a little better. And then let's go ahead and do a little bit of rotate up and down here. Just a little bit. Just to give a little more looseness to that hand if we can. And let's clean that up a little bit more. Like I said, this is just going to be a little bit, I really want to keep that hand kind of stiff. I feel like it works a little bit better by having the one dragging behind be looser and the one in front just gets a little different variety there. And invert it to drag, not lead. loosen up. See that movement? There's just a little bit of waviness to it now. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and save that. And we'll do a little bit on those fingers as well. So let's grab all of the fingers here. And again, just a little bit of life. Nothing needs to be too noticeable here. Cut that by about 15% or so. A little bit less. And then we'll take all the tips and we'll delay those a frame. Take everything on the index and we'll let it lead by a frame. And everything on the pinky and let it follow. And let's see that. Just gives a little life to that hand. You can just see it. And these ones we did at starting pretty much at 7. So let's go with the thumb. We'll do that at 4 or 5, I guess. That works too. Down. And just a little bit of movement in there at a little bit different timing. And then after that, I think that's gonna pretty much do it. I'm sure we've went past our time. I don't know if my workflow's getting slower or if it's just the rigs or whatever, but I'm guessing, yeah, probably looking to wrap that up. So let's see how this thumb looks. Maybe a frame sooner. I think this hand still needs probably another couple of passes on there. It's workable, but not wonderful. I think the rest of it was working okay there. So let's take a look back at where we started. We were looking at the beautiful work of John Bauer. He said, "I notice more and more that it's from the oldest and most primitive artists that one must learn to become an artist oneself." And I would say definitely look. I mean, for me, Da Vinci is one of my huge for illustration and for animation. I always like to call as huge inspirations and people to learn from and study. And also Winsor McKay, it's a big one. But I think really, if you're looking to find a unique voice, what you should do is go back to those things that originally inspired you. Those people that you really were drawn into that medium from. And try and study them as much as you can. And there might not be, a lesson that they gave or advice or tips, but you could, print off a picture of it or listen to an album over and over and just kind of mimic it and mimic it and mimic it until you understand the nuances and you try and think through why they did this or why they did that. And then you can manipulate these things and twist those things and use it so that it's in that kind of background of your subconscious, so when you're stuck you can kind of pull on that stuff that you learned from them and those people that you really love and kind of infuse that into your work. Not copy it, but just have that spirit and those learning principles from the people that you really look up to. So I think that'll do it for today. I love you guys lots. Thanks for hanging out with me. Had fun doing this one, a little bit different. Still not in love with IK stuff unless it's really planted, but I think we did something that's workable. But yeah. Thanks for all the likes and subscribes. Keep being awesome. I hope you did another step in your journey today towards mastering your passions. And I think that'll wrap it up. So we will see you for some more animation as soon as I can find that button tomorrow.